Okay, back again. My apologies for that. Let's just get set up. I'm still not working live is fine. Working on camera is a different thing. Okay, here we go. So from the last one, just starting on the long line, just getting on there. Straight away I'm having to use a keystone, and you can see this is what I'm referring to. You're able to get this as a free download. I'm sure it's in the links in the profile. So keystone shape here, size and spacing we'll go through, but I'll be mentioning all of these as we go. If you want to go a little bit further, here's the book. It's 10 pages, but it's these rules in action. It's basically what I'm doing here. So let's just get that in. Now, see, I've started pushing that one right up, but I've got to remember now that we are gonna be a little bit loose. We're a little bit further away. This gap here is a little bit further than I would like. If I'd have been doing this every day, I'd have been able to compensate for that when I was doing this. You could just see I've gone a little bit over the inside of the pattern here. Again, it's just your practice. It's just developing your eye. We do not, and I don't care who the hell it is, we do not do the quantities that a Roman mosaicist would. We just don't. It's just not, the opportunities are just not there. Okay, now, so here, this is really pain. Now what I'm doing here, this isn't ideal. What we are doing is this. So these are the standard, this is all about spacing. These are the standard spaces. Now if we're tightening up, if we've not got a lot of space, then we see the some are cut smaller and there's almost no space. What I'm having to do now is a bit of this, loosening, just basically open up the space a fraction. Now, it is down to you as to how far is too far. And you just need to sort of go with your, what's the best appearance for you. So here, just bringing that out. Be wary about sort of laying loads out, because that's getting into dry setting, which is something that you don't want to do. Okay, you need to develop your eye, and if you like, put everything in place before anything else, before you glue it down, then you'll you'll be so reliant on that. Be wary of putting in keystones where you don't need them. That if that had been cut a little bit sharper, that would have been unnecessary. I could almost have got away with just putting a square in there. So let's put that there. That's about the limit. Again, I'm thinking of this. Now, as we go up here, you can see on the other one, you've got this filling in, goes up to a certain point, but we're going to be a lot further up than that, I reckon. There. Okay, now what I will do then is let's sort this little problem out here. We're going to be continuing round there. Now then. There. Keystone. You will use more keystones using machine cut material. Using all hand cut material is fantastic. It's great, but because you actually don't need many keystones in the same way as you won't see many keystones in a Roman mosaic, because they're using hand cut material. Therefore, you have all that little irregularity in there. You see, hell, nothing really I can do about that. That gap's, I would say, a bit too big. I'm still looking at this at an angle. I'm not able to judge that, and be quite honest with you, I've been writing and recording things for a long time, so I haven't been doing this enough. So it just, just goes to show that you get out of it very quickly. Right, now, what I've got here, this is the gap where you're going to have, like on here, you see there's your triangle pieces right up, the filling in lines. See those two there. Now, if I bring this round, that is where I'm going to have my triangle cut, and that's not too bad. It's sort of when it goes round here and you've got that space, that's a bit problematic. Let's just put that in there. And remember, when you work, you place the tesserae, you adjust it, then you leave it. It's a two-touch rule. If you touch it more than twice, you're fiddling. Right, let's go around here. I know where I'm going. What I'm going to do is just go to that end of the line. Again, if you've got a particular shape, just hold that up against it. You remember, you've got to, I keep saying remember, I think I'm reminding myself, you've got something like this. Can't line it up. Yeah, you've got to imagine the rest of the pattern going off when you're doing these edge pieces. And it's easy if you've got the rest of another drawing of the pattern that you put underneath, then it's much easier for you to visualize, particularly that last piece. Some have seen that they're sort of literally almost going off that way, which is incorrect. Right, let's get moving. I'm just going on the laptop and see if I can see myself. Add keystone. Don't do half keystones. By that I mean something like that. This implies a direction. It depends on sort of how you view it, but you want the flow to be both ways, that the eye is taken both ways. This implies a specific direction. Now, for some people it can be that way, for some it's that, but it implies a single direction. So you want to avoid that because you want the line to flow both ways. Again, almost could have not needed one there. Gonna need that there. Okay, now I've got space here for sort of 1 3/4. So I'm gonna just, that's okay to cut one down and there, and it usually seems a bit more, so we'd say that's 1 1/2. That'll do. Okay, gonna run a line along here. Borderline, lower borderline. Oh, yes, hi. Lots of TVs. Okay, let's see now. So if I put that one in there, then I go and just, you can draw it out if you want, but again, all these things, you're trying to develop your eye. So what you don't want is too many aids to it. Now this was really what I was trying to show up there. Space for 1 1/2. So rather than cut just one down, I cut 2 down, because what we don't want is a contrast. What we don't want is a full and then a small bit. And as we come out here, there's not much you can do, but it's thinking about that gap there. These long, thin gaps are difficult to fill. Now, going along this line here, rather than trying to get them all exactly like that, like we want, just angle them very slightly. It's called soften the line. I'm going to jump to the end there rather than have the small bit on the end. I mean, when you've got something like this, which is a detail that's been cut, you can go up to the edge with the smaller pieces, because it's as if it's been cut out. Now what I've done here is, rather than get full, small, full, I'm adjusting here and trying to make these cuts sort of disappear, because when you're using these machine cut tesserae, a lot less forgiving, and where you get this very regular line, very regular pieces, that flattens it and it gives it more of a two-dimensional look where you want three-dimensional. Now let's go over here, and I'm just going to fill it. Now when you're putting glue down, how much do you put down? You put down as much as you're confident to work in. Don't do that and then stick it down. It's a waste of time. So now, see that shape's triangle, but it's a bit of a teeny one. Okay, and that's busting off, it's that small. Let's go. And these are filling in lines, same as here. They're just going to go horizontal lines. And don't worry about the spacing. Shove that in as far as it'll go. That's a reasonable-ish size. Wouldn't tend to want to go in smaller than that. There. Right, that's... Now we got the smaller bit. Now that line to fill in. So got some reasonable size. Don't pick up these little fragment bits. They're no use to anyone. That there. Now another one there. Really need to stretch that up. Oh, Blaze Edits high. Can you see this is more of a... Gonna look at that angle there, and I'm gonna trim that bit off. There. You put these triangles in just first, because when you're cutting these pieces, now I have to cut squares smaller rather than trying to cut a triangle and fit it into a tiny little gap. So let's do that. Now what I'm going to do is, so the bit on the end isn't too small, trimming this one down. Let's put that there. Otherwise you'll have thin the way up. Now I get to hide this bit. Okay, let's go round on here now. And I will just... if you're putting all the glue down, it does make you get on with it. Okay, but as I say, you need to put down as much as you feel comfortable working for that space. Bits falling off. Thinking about this distance here because I can't get another line in. You see a lot of the double strand guilloche borders, and they will do that. If they've left themselves too much space, they will just whack another line in. They really weren't that bothered. Okay, so let's go back. This is loosening, just moving them a little bit more apart. This isn't a Roman technique. This doesn't tend to be something you've seen because they were using hand cut materials in a loosening area where I'm sort of moving things out, having a bit more of a gap, that they would just have some slightly larger pieces. So I'm just really tiny little bit off each one. Now then, how did I do that one? Is it around? So I will, with this, because what I don't want to do is try and have something where it's just two lines straight across there. They sort of need to be part of the curve. Does that work? Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. I'll trim a bit off of there. Now, the further into the curve you get, the sharper the angle. You see that now. If I trimmed a piece, let's work that one out. That's a bit more reasonable. So if we cut another one and bringing that out there. So basically just thinking of this line, just going all the way around up to there. Now see where I've got to fill. This is where you will get that half a keystone. I've done it slightly different than there, and I think I prefer this now because you see there, and it's a bit blunt. This is a very small detail. It's really not going to be noticed much, but for me looking at it, that felt a lot easier, a lot more of a flow to it by just doing this curve all the way around. Now I just need to sort this out. You're not going to get the same sort of curve there, but that felt a lot easier because, excuse me, right, you never do just a small detail. You have to do this. Imagine you have another 100, 150 of these. So you've got a border where there's 150 of these pattern repeats. Then how would you be doing one? Because how you would be doing one is how you want to be doing all of them. Now, the question here is this too tight that we need to actually use a triangle? See there, and let's take this out. Now I've done that nice curve around there. I'm sort of like, am I a bit stuck? But keep thinking, how can I do all of them the same way? Does it give the line? Does it flow the line? Right, that sort of does it. Sort of does it. Make that the rectangle. There. There. And we're sort of there. That'll do. Got that curve around there. Now, there's sort of exceptions to, oh, you have to use a keystone on a curve. Sometimes the angle is too tight. You end up using triangles. So, have a look again here. Now, what we want to do is have a full line on here, and then we'll lose that up to, if I started with a triangle here and then came down here and then just had a sort of like a sort of really thin line like that, that wouldn't be good. That would draw in your eye. So what we're going to do, same as the other one, let's start at the top. So do that bit, get those out of the way. Right, so we're going to, right now, there's your direction for the border lines. We are not doing the border lines now, we are filling in. Therefore, we need to think horizontal. Just keep thinking like that. Otherwise, you can end up, I mean, if you want to, you can have the whole lot flowing up. It's really up to you, but systematic wise, this is filling in. Okay, so it's not that there's no real you must do it like this. Once you have the border lines, then the rest is filling in, and it doesn't matter too much how you do that. And I think I've cut too much off of this. Oh no, that'll do. That'll do. Right, and there. That's almost worked. That would have been, one piece would have been for suited both. That'll do. Right. Okay, keep reminding, which is what I'm doing. I'm trying to remind myself we are looking at horizontal lines, not vertical, not on a curve. So, now, let's, bits jammed in. There. This is one thing with these small nippers, is once bits get jammed. Now that's just something I've cut, one tesserae that I've cut in half. Let's put the rest of these on. Here's the tricky bits, and what I'm going to do is just put glue in the rest of this, because it's not going to take that long to finish. Use this bit with the glue on. There, fits snugly in. So don't use fragments. I just found that bit, and that will have worked. Keep thinking horizontal. And now you see what I've done? Gone the other way around. I said start at the bottom and go up, and I started at the top and worked down. Because what I have to do now is be very clear matter how many lines I can get in. So there, that's sort of about 2, so get it back again. This is now what we're on again, loosening here. We're just taking the gaps apart a little bit without making it too much. Because you see, what I can do is I can do 2, but using loosening, or I can do 3, but each of the lines, the tesserae would have a small bit cut off of it. No. See there, that's too much. So what I'm going to do here, without making them obviously triangles, I'm now going to do is just trim a little bit off of each one. I did exactly what I said you want to be careful you don't do. Tightening that up, bringing that right up. And then we'll see at the end, we'll see how much it... Now you see, if I'd have done what I was supposed to do, I'd have started here, then gone up, and then you sort of lose any misalignment. Now, here, when you got this, get a piece and just shove it right in. Okay, shove it right in. Now I'm still gonna have to trim these down. I need to offset, so I'm making this a bit smaller. Rather than have, let me show you. Where's the other bit? Where did the other bit go? Rather than have a line, let's see that, like that, okay, rectangle, if that was a bit thicker, rectangles in a line there, you want smaller squares. So let's get that triangle in there. Let's just put these ones in. Then you could see gave this one an extra cut because I need to offset. And what I'm doing now is just taking a small bit off of each. And I'm pushing them up because we've now somehow got to get into there. Push that way, push that way. Let's get as much space as we can. You can have your tesserae that are within the size range, but just a bit too, it's the contrast. So if you have an average size of 10mm, and then your acceptable larger size is 12, acceptable smaller size is 8. If you had a 12mm and an 8mm next together, the contrast would be what would cause the problem. And where I can, without cutting again, There, that's in. That's been pushed out. Doesn't matter. Okay, right. Let's have a look here. So here I'm looking at that. That. There. Slightly smaller square. Watch, I need to offset these. Oh, bugger. What I will do is put one of those in there because one isn't going to make a lot of difference. Okay, let's take a look. You can see the difference. Full lines here, but here they're just a bit smaller. But I've tried to make, you see these bottom three lines, make them all a little bit smaller there. Just smaller tesserae rather than rectangles. Okay, I hope that has been useful for you. I will try to arrange, sort of schedule these in so you know what time I'm going on there. If you've got any suggestions, things you'd want me to go over or watch what I'm doing, then just let me know. And now I'm going to try and figure out how in the hell to turn off. Excuse my hand. Okay, thanks very much.